Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Hello, my name is Malaika Z Charbonneau. I am represented by Collectors Choice Art Gallery, and I'm going to give you a bit of a spiel on my style of art. Majority of my work is very colorful. You can't see behind you because you can't. But most of my work is like reds and pinks and bright blues, and this is the one I'm going to be talking about today because I think it's my favorite piece, and it's called Bridges. And the story behind it, first and foremost, is back in the day before I had a car, I walked everywhere. So these are the two main bridges, Broadway and University, of me walking in the nighttime going over the bridges. Because we'd walk to the gallery shows on campus and then we'd have to walk back on the other bridge to get back to the house. Anyway. The actual process of my paintings is quite tedious. The underpaintings I try to keep opposite of what I want the top layers to look like. So underneath this, you can still see portions if you get right up and close to it, like up in there, especially under the whites. But it's very red underneath. And on most of the other canvases, I try to do opposites because for some reason, it just works out very well with my style. How I got into geometric shapes, circles, squares, and triangles. I have a mad passion for an artist named Kazimir Malevich, and it's Malevich or Malevich, and I know I'm going to get like hit on for that one. He's famous for doing the black square, and he had no layering whatsoever in any of his work, but he took a concept and brought it all the way down to just bare shapes. For example, one of his major paintings is Boy with Backpack. And it's a circle, a square, and a triangle, and that's it. And so he inspired me to do that. However, I like the layers and the looks, and I like being able to push somebody further into the canvas and get them lost in it, and still making sure that their eye keeps going around the canvas. That's crucial. Like if your eye shoots off the canvas, bad composition. That's the way I've been taught. So, I don't know. Does anybody have any questions? I don't know what else to say about the piece, aside from it's for sale and you should buy it. What else can I say? I've dabbled in other forms of art, like lino cuts. I love lino cuts. When I was in university, I tried to do woodcuts, but I kept nicking my left hand, and the professor did not want me losing all of my fingers, so he put me to lino cuts, which way better, much easier to work with. And so lino cuts and painting primarily. I did do some sculpture for a while. I wasn't very successful at it. Didn't have the patience to do all the nuances, which is funny because I can do nuances in this, like it's going out of style, but in another form, not so much. Let's see, what else? I had an awesome studio here that they have now turned into condos. So unfair. The Tees and Pierce building. And yeah, that just sucked for a bunch of artists because we had to go back to our parents' basements. Can I have a room to paint in? Thanks. What else?
I have a question for you.
Alrighty.
Do the shapes, does the subject matter of the painting inform the shapes, or how do you determine what shapes?
Usually the subject matter does. The circles are going to be something more personal to me, whereas triangles always end up looking angry and like aggravated, which is weird because I have a sleeping cat on the wall that's on a bed of glass and a sleeping boy on a bed of glass, so that kind of runs against that. And the triangle or the rectangles I find show a lot more movement, so I can control the viewer's eye around the canvas more so than with circles.
Cool.
So it does have everything to do with subject matter. Like
How many layers do your paintings normally take?
that is completely up to my judgment. Sometimes it can be 800, sometimes it can be 8. It depends on how the paint's reacting to me and how I'm reacting to the paint, or how I'm feeling that particular moment in time. Like Poland over there. That thing was hard to do, but it has all the shapes in it. And then I let it sit for about 2 years, and then had to come back because something was just not right with it, and threw on extra circles and extra shapes just to bring that out a little bit more. And actually, funny thing, speaking of Malevich, I saw his black square when we were at the gallery in Łódź, and I painted his black square right dead center in the middle of my painting because he was such an inspiration. And then I covered it up with a circle, as I do. And I tend to play with gold leaf a lot and epoxy a lot. And there's none of it on this one, but on some of the paintings you can see gold leaf quite obviously, and in others it's very subtle. Like the pathways on City and Royal, the gold leaf is just the pathways throughout. So actually they're, sad paintings, but kind of happy paintings. And
Have you ever done any really realistic paintings?
I have, to an extent. I don't like flesh colored things, so I don't paint them like fleshy colored. They'll be green or they'll be blue, but they'll look like the person that I'm supposed to be painting, but I'm taking a very artistic approach to it versus like a Van Gogh or something.
Sort of less more Matisse or something?
Sure. Okay.
Okay, rather than Picasso with, eyeballs coming out of his ears.
Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha. Picasso actually did some really good realism paintings, though, from what I remember. And so did the guy, Duchamp, the guy that did the urinal that everybody's, he was an amazing artist. And when Malevich was creating the suprematist movement, the constructivist movement and the futurist movement all collided at the same time, which made for very interesting art coming into the 1900s. But Picasso's paintings were like generically boring, and then he got introduced to Braque, who introduced him to Cubism. And I know I'm throwing out a whole bunch of names people aren't probably going to know, but it all started out with Malevich's square. So that amazing art movement from the early 1900s, like around the Bolshevik Revolution, is when all these inspirational artists came to be. And if I hadn't gone to Emily Carr, I never would have probably learned about half of them. So go get an education.
I've noticed in some of the canvases you've sort of sewn two pieces of canvas or multiple pieces of canvas together.
Yes.
Can you talk to that?
So originally what started with that one is we were in the Bahamas, and the Haitians would make makeshift rafts to get to the Bahamas, to get out of Haiti, and they'd take sheets and sew them together in any kind of fabric they could find to make sails. And I thought that was a really interesting story, because you'd see these bizarre ships floating into the bay, and I was like, I could make a painting out of that. So I made one called Nassau, obviously, and sewed that together, and then I realized that actually is kind of a cool effect, so I kept doing it. But then when I sew the canvases together, I have to take into consideration what the subject matter is going to be, because sewing is a crucial element in part of the canvas. Mm-hmm. And I've got two that are, I think one of them's over there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been doing conversation pieces on them, because I can use the line to divide the conversations. So, and it keeps my hands busy when I'm not painting.
And you have used some things under your paintings, like there was a series you did with maps under them and things like that. Why would you do that?
I was playing with collage paintings for a while, and I would just tear up bits and portions of cities like Montreal, for example, and then glue them onto the canvas and then paint on top of that, but always leave portions of the map exposed. So ideally, if somebody's recognized Montreal, they can look at it and say, oh yeah, that's a street in Montreal. I don't know a street in Montreal, so bad example. But yes, I used to do collages quite frequently, and I don't know why I stopped. I think that series just kind of fizzled out for me. Like, the conversations are pretty much fizzling out for me, but circles are never gonna die. I just love them too much. And the hexagons and the octagons, that was, my friend got a chop saw and wanted to have some fun, and so he designed me those stretchers. And I found them incredibly difficult to paint on, and it took me 3 years to figure out how to make them successful without the casual square, right? Sure? So, by an example of the gold leaf and the glazing on top of it, and it's dusty, and the octagon. I think that's the octagon. Yep. So that's another style with triangles, kind of angry, but it goes along with the, it goes along with the shape of it. Sure. See, and this is another one of me pretending I know what I'm doing with wax. And this is another one with some circles, actually, surprising. And me trying to play with encaustic wax. And actually not bad. But it is a bit of a struggle wax. It's not something I'm very good at, so I guess I should just keep practicing. And somebody brought cookies or cupcakes for my birthday. And thank you, whoever that was. I honestly don't know. And I feel kind of bad. Tried to get online really quick, going, okay, who gave me cupcakes? Nobody owned up to it, so. Anyhow. Alright. Any other questions?
What are you working on now?
Currently I have a painting of 2 dogs on a bed of glass that are sleeping.
I saw one of your canvas here on a bed of glass. Is
Yeah.
that the kind of thing it will be?
Yeah. And another one I'm working on, it's a gift for my cousin. And she just graduated and got into med school or something fancy. So it's a conversation piece, and I said I was getting away from them, but anyway. It's a conversation piece, and it says you are here, and then it splits off into 15 different directions because she doesn't know what she's gonna do next, and her life's ahead of her because she's young. So those are the 2 that I'm working on, I think. And yeah, you wanted to show me the cat?
Sure.
And this is my cat, Saganka, sleeping on a bed of glass. See, bright colors, not normal color for a cat. Probably if I did another human, it would be blue, like that guy's yellow. But that's all I got. Little bit of history. And yeah, thanks for watching. Over and out. Oh.